Hey, told you I was going to be doing a demonstration video, and this is going to be it. We're going to work on building the testosterone auto-injector homemade version. Like I said the other day, we've got a 1/2-inch CPVC cap, a stick of 1/2-inch CPVC pipe, clothespin, clothes hanger, and a small ponyo about 1 inch, 1.25 inches in diameter. Tools we'll be using is cutting pliers, 7/16 drill bit, 3/16 drill bit and drill, a Dremel with a rotary file in it, and then a regular file. Actually, I may not be using the regular file, just brought it just in case I needed it. First step we're going to do, I'm going to take the pipe and use the super glue and glue the pipe cap on. Now I chose super glue for one reason. It's a lot less messy to work with over regular PVC pipe glue, and it does just as good a job for our purposes. We're going to take this, apply the super glue around the circumference of the pipe very carefully. No excess. We don't want to waste the glue. Glue the pipe cap on. By the way, if you're going to do it at the kitchen table like I'm doing it, make sure you use some sort of drop cloth or something so your wife don't kill you. I don't want to be hearing from wives saying, "Why'd you get my husband into building this thing? Got super glue all over my table." So, next step we're going to do, I'm going to be using this, which is my syringe, for a template for length. Now, get the length proper, carefully remove your needle protector. By the way, you don't want to reuse this needle afterwards because it's going to be contaminated. Take a, well, it's always a good idea to have some way to mark it, but in this case I didn't bring one. I'll just grab my pocket knife out and etch it. But use you a pencil or something and mark right at the top of the barrel of the syringe, like this. Only make it where it's easy to see with a pencil or something. Now you see how right there is my little nick mark. It's not much of a mark that you can see on camera, but it's got it where my cut is going to be right at the top of the barrel of the needle. Purpose of that is you want to make sure that needle is going to make full penetration into your muscle. It's got to be all the way in since it's an IM. Now protect your needle because you don't want to stab yourself with it. If you noticed, I put the little the finger grasps above the cap so that I get an accurate measurement. Take your cutter. Now I'm using tubing cutter because it'll make a square cut, where CPVC, any of your PVC cutters that kind of look more like pliers or a ratcheting setup, they tend to cut off square because it's not critical to have a square cut in most of the plumbing that you do with PVC pipe. In this case it's a little more critical. So we'll get it lined up with the blade. I'm having some fun here. And then start squeezing it in. Get you to start getting your cut. Let's see. Got just enough ability to move it and cut it off. Now be careful how tight you make your tool. It will flatten your PVC pipe, and a lot of times when you flatten it like that, it'll allow it to start threading the pipe instead of cutting it. And it's a useless thread because it's not going to be consistent in any way where you can thread it into something. Now, once you get so far, if you want to, you can back it back off and just snap it. Wipe everything off. You can kind of file the edge off. Make sure you do that over your workspace you made. Get your burrs off. Make sure you use a clean file. I'm using an old dirty mechanics file because I am a mechanic, and I really don't plan on using this one. I've already got a clean one built. It's just demonstration purposes. Now, next step, we're going to bore the pipe cap for the needle to go through. I'm going to have some problems getting this drill bit in here, I can tell. It's a little large. Tell you what, I got a 3/8. We will be back in a moment. Hit pause. Okay, we're back. This time I've got a 3/8 drill bit. Didn't think about my chuck being 3/8. If it's best to use the 7/16 because it gets the largest diameter. Inside the PVC pipe, it says to be 1/2 inch. That's actually a little under half. We want to bore it as large as possible. Since I can't use that bit, I'm going to use this bit for demonstration purposes. But you want it to where you can remove your protector after it's inserted off your needle. Now, stick it through here, grasp it firmly, and drill. Being careful not to get yourself hurt. Now, we've got a nice clean hole here, but here's the problem. It's off center. One reason I wanted to use the 7/16, it may be a little off center then too, and it's larger. It'd work a little better. But if you've got a bit between 7/16 and 3/8 you can use that fits snug inside here without taking any of the meat out, that's what you want to use. What I'm going to do here, since I've got my Dremel, is work this out with it. If you need to use a 3/8 bit and you got a Dremel available, it'll fine. You just need the hole out. Now the pipe cap's not 100% necessity. I do it just because it kind of gives me some spots to work off of for certain other aspects of the build. You can use just a straight piece of pipe without the pipe cap. Also, it gives a broader base for putting it up against your skin. Okay. Purpose of the video, that's good enough. You can take it to whatever level makes you comfortable, makes you feel like it's going to have sufficient clearance so that you don't have any concerns about a hang up or whatever. I'll tell you, I didn't take my other one as large as this, and I don't have a problem with hang up. But that's how it looks at this point. Now, next step we're going to take is cross drilling with 3/16 to allow the trigger mechanism to be able to get inside. Now, one thing we want to do is make sure that wherever we drill it, it's not going to be too high, but we're going to cut off two parts of this. So the second groove right here, you want to have it above there because we're going to cut it off there. This other part's going to be cut off accordingly. So make sure that your trigger, that way your trigger's not hanging up on your skin. Now, as far as how high it's going to be, it's not super critical it be at the exact same point in every one. Big thing is that it can stick through and bind the syringe to the other side. So we sit here very carefully drill. I use the line that's on this particular brand of CPVC as kind of a alignment point. The drill bit's coming out. that's where the trigger mechanism is going to penetrate through. On the opposite side, near the base, we're going to drill 2 more holes, making sure it's exact opposite. Or it can be at 90 degrees, I guess. It won't hurt. 2 holes. Reasons we're going to. This is going to be our aspiration view window. We want to be able to see the base of the needle after it's in, so we can determine that we haven't hit a blood vessel. After those 2 holes are there, we're going to do it again with this 3/8. Very carefully, very slowly. And this is not smart right here. I think I'll just do that much to both of them and use the rotary file to get it out. There we go. That gives us an opening to start working with our rotary file. Now we're going to open this on up. Alright guys, when you get done with this, make sure you clean up after yourself. Your wife will shoot you if you don't. Might even shoot you between the eyes with a bazooka. Okay, next step we're going to go ahead and cut the trigger point off. Use either the rotary file or the regular file. Take this and clean this up. If you got sandpaper, you can do that. Other side, cut it off accordingly. You don't want to cover up your trigger hole. Pay attention to where it's going to be. I'm going to cut it off something like, if it's a little easier for you and you can get one back together like this, take it apart and get you an accurate point of representation, and then cut it off kind of at an angle if you can help it. As far as not this way, but on a slant this way. If you can't cut it at an angle that way, file it at an angle afterwards. Show you why in a moment. That should be good enough. Now let's get this back together. This is always fun. Couldn't do that when I was a kid. Accidentally get them apart. And I have to chunk them because not even my mom could get them back together. Back. Okay, we're back. Gonna take, on the next step, we're going to take and glue the clothespin onto the PVC pipe in alignment with the hole. Applying the glue full length of the side that gets glued down. Take the pipe just below that hole, line it up, get it in place. You're using super glue, so get it lined up and hold it and let the super glue set enough to work with. Okay, that should be long enough. Kind of set up that way. Next step we're going to take, work on the hanger. That gives you the trigger mechanism that actually goes through and binds. Just cut you a length of wire long enough that it'll go more than the length of this and have enough to bend over. Now, put you a bend in it. Get an idea of where you need it cut off. It needs to penetrate through the tube enough to where it will definitely catch the syringe. Now, lay that up against there. Just kind of eyeball it. It don't have to be perfect. It's not exactly like we've got extreme tolerances here, like we're building an engine. Cut that off. Take your rotary file or your regular file and that's going to end up cutting me up. Safety first. Let's just do this way. Get your sharp edge off there. Okay, next, your length. Lay it through the hole there. Cut it full length of your clothespin. That way you're pressing on it as well, not liable to pull it loose. Be careful cutting it off so that something don't fly out and hit somebody else. Okay, apply glue. Insert it and line it up down the center of your clothespin and hold it straight where it's sticking evenly through the hole and let it set up. Okay, now that, well, it's coming loose. I'm not going to be able to do it right off the bat. It's sticking enough, we'll just let that set. The final deal is going to be the main mechanism, which in this case, I hope you guys are pretty situated in your manhood. I only had a pink one available from my daughter. At this point, you set you some glue right here. You put the ponyo right there. Takes a little bit for the super glue to hold. Okay, then make sure you don't end up losing your ponyo, or in this case it's, I don't know if you noticed, I got my view window a little off opposite, but that really doesn't hurt anything because it's just not covered up. That's the important thing. Now here's the neat thing. We're ready to show you how to get it together. After you've drawn your medicine up, use, if you can, can afford to, use the same needle to draw it with so that you don't dull your new needle every time, and put your new needle back on before you insert it in here. Pull your tracking mechanism out, make sure it lines up, and pinches it. Now line the finger tabs up, pull your ponyo up and over there. Now it's set up. When you grab and draw back, make sure your my glue broke loose. No wonder it ain't holding. Gonna have to start over, guys. Okay, everyone. Decided that it was best that I show you with my other one. The glue needed to set on the one that we were making in there. But again, after it's completed, line up everything, set up the deal where the spring is like that. Now, draw it back. Actually, let's not draw it back yet. I forgot to remove the needle deal. Remove the needle protector, draw it back just enough to where the needle is just up inside the end good. Then set it on the injection site after antiseptic, using antiseptic to cleanse the spot, and then pull the trigger. It will penetrate you. If you've got a good, clean, sharp needle, you won't even feel it go in. First time I used it, I thought something went wrong because I did not feel it. It works well. By the way, it'd be a good idea to put the protector back on before you pull it out of the auto-injector device. Make sure you let your glue on everything set up thoroughly. That way it won't come apart on you when you're using it. And that's how it's built. Thank you for watching. Hey, I just wanted to tell y'all, after completing the demonstration construction, I found that the trigger mechanism was not adequate. The trigger needs to protrude further in there. On my first one, I also clipped off the ends where the trigger come through, which probably gave greater leverage for the spring to pull down and give tension. Just was wanting to recommend that you either clip it off or make sure that the trigger mechanism, the part made out of the hanger, is sticking at least halfway through the diameter of the tube, and that will make sure that it will seize against the syringe sufficiently to hold it in position once you draw it back for a cock. That's just my recommendation.